All right, everybody, welcome to Brightspace Portfolio. I'm Darren, and we're going to get started. Let's go ahead. So just to get started, if you would like to, and the reason we're doing this is so you can have a chance to experience the portfolio like your students would, go ahead and enroll. You can discover and enroll in the course called Brightspace Portfolio. I know a lot of you have already enrolled in the curriculum courses. You find and enroll in this one in just the same way. And this is also in the presentation. I'm going to put that in the chat one more time. There's the presentation and the attendance link for this evening. So go ahead and click on those if you like, and you can have that presentation. Just so you know, the presentation evolves as I learn more about Brightspace and as we turn on more settings and see what's best for our district. So you can keep up by keeping that link somewhere. So terms to know as we move through tonight's session. One, portfolio. That's kind of the teacher side of things. That's where you can add it to your course nav bar, or you can access it in your course admin area. You can see the icon here as well. My portfolio is the student side of the portfolio offering inside of Brightspace. That can be added to the course nav bar, or students can access by going up to their profile name, clicking on my portfolio. So those are the two kind of areas of the portfolio. We have our icon versus our text-based nav bar in Brightspace, which I'm sure you're all aware of. Artifact or evidence, I'll kind of use those terms interchangeably. That's what we add to our portfolio, and it can be added by the student or by the teacher. Approval, we're going to get into kind of the approval settings that you can set as the teacher for the portfolio for your courses. You can leave them all off and students can just have their portfolio and share with you, or you can turn them on and you have to approve evidence before the student can go back in and edit that evidence. And we'll get into that. And then also we have different categories. We have a category setting in our portfolio to kind of make things easier to organize and filter. I always just kind of remind everybody you have that sandbox. That's a great place to play, build things, and then you can pull things into your other courses from that sandbox in Brightspace. So those are our terms to know for this evening. So portfolio, it's kind of like our new filing cabinet. Back in the day when I started, I had bins or folders where I would keep evidence of student growth throughout the school year. And I would keep that organized in a filing cabinet. Well, now we have this great tool inside of our learning management system that we can pretty much do all the same things and then some. And we're going to get into a lot of those great features that are offered by the portfolio this evening. There's a ton of them. I may not cover all of them, but we have documentation for all of that. And I'm always here to answer questions. But there's a ton of things you can do with it. There's a ton of settings, a ton of ways to filter and move throughout the platform and experience the platform as a teacher and as a student. And hopefully you'll get to experience both of those this evening. If not, I'm going to show you around in both, and as a parent actually too. So I'm going to show you all three environments this evening. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. So the way this presentation runs, I'm going to show you the slide just so you can get an idea of what we're going to cover, and then I'm going to get into the actual environment and show you around for real. So we're going to start with the teacher side of things. So that's portfolio. Inside of the portfolio teacher tool, we have our settings area, and that's where we're going to start first this evening. We're going to talk a little bit about how you can, I guess, make your environment a little more fun for your students and using the Funster avatars as opposed to their profile pictures. Some of our students have profile pictures, some do not. I know my son doesn't have one. My daughter changes hers like every other day. So you can just have set avatars for our students. Evidence approval, we're going to get into those settings. We're also going to get into a little bit of category management, but this presentation is full of links that'll take you to other resources. If you don't remember how to do something, or you have a question about something, or we just didn't quite have enough time to cover everything, you can always come back to this presentation, click on the links, and get some more information about category management and other items that we cover this evening. The presentation is also full of screenshots to kind of jog your memory as we go through. So you'll see a screenshot here about the avatars and the evidence approval and the category management that I just spoke about. The other kind of main thing that teachers do inside of Portfolio is they view and edit their evidence of their students or the artifacts of their students. So you can approve or delete evidence right away if you have those settings turned on. You can see the settings I have here highlighted in orange that I recommend. That's what I have turned on in my Sandbox for my students, which are my own children. But those are what I recommend. So you actually have the approval rights of evidence before students can get back in and edit their own evidence. There's some shortcuts where you can unapprove, spotlight, download, or delete evidence, and you'll see that here in this screenshot. You have the ability to rename evidence. There is the option to add audio or add written evaluation for the student. You can add categories. You can add feedback to the student as the teacher, and that's just a one-way loop, or a one-way correspondence. It's not a loop. So you're adding feedback. Students are not responding to your feedback within the Portfolio. You can also add rubrics and standards. Just note that the rubric must be created in the environment or in your course first. And same with standards. The standards must be added to the course first. And there's documentation in these links about how to do that if you're unfamiliar with that. You can also add teacher-only notes, which is a great feature where you can just add notes about the piece of evidence. And you can even choose if it's visible or not. And by visible, and we're going to talk about this, it can be seen by you and other teachers in the course, or just you. Excuse me. And you can also share with parents from this environment. So I'm going to show you all of that right now. Let's go ahead and get out of that. And we're going to move into our Portfolio. So as you can see, I'm here. I'm using my Sandbox for this presentation tonight. My students are, my own children are students in my Sandbox. So just to get started, let's go back to the class list. Let's start at the beginning. So right away, you'll see that you have your settings area. We're going to start at the top and go into settings. So I have the friendly Funster avatars turned on for this course for my students to experience. You can turn that off and you would just see their profile pictures. I would say probably recommended for elementary, maybe not so much for middle and high school, but you never know. It just really depends on your students. Like I mentioned earlier, evidence approval. I have to, as the teacher or any teacher in this course, would have to approve evidence when students add it. So that is in the Portfolio web tool, which we're in right now, or the Portfolio app, which you can add to a phone or you can add to a Chrome device. We're going to talk a little bit about that later as far as apps go. I don't have it turned on for class device or family device mode. It's not something you're going to use very often. We don't really share devices in our district anymore. And if it's a family device, they're really not going to use that much either. So I leave that one unchecked and check the other two. The other setting you have as the teacher is category management. You can add new categories simply by typing and saving. You can see that I've already added 4 different categories. And that's such a nice feature for organizing your work. Students do have access to these categories. They can put their work in categories once you give them those editing rights after it's been approved. And you can as the teacher as well once they submit that evidence and you've approved it. So those are your settings. If you change anything, obviously you want to click Save. And we're going to move back into our main dashboard for the Portfolio. Now yours is going to look a lot different. You're going to have a lot more students in your course more than likely. The other feature up here at the top is to print class pass cards. And that is actually for the apps. I'll show you. They kind of look like this. Once they're printed, you can cut them out and give them to each student. What they would do is they would use this to access the app on their device. How do you get to, this is the Portfolio. So Portfolio is accessed, thank you, Ms. Hale. The Portfolio is accessed through a link in your nav bar or by going into your course admin and clicking on Portfolio. I apologize, I forgot to say that. So thank you for catching me with that. So yeah, Portfolio, you can go ahead and add it to your nav bar, or it's in course admin. I believe in the, I never go to it this way. Where is Portfolio? Am I wrong? Yeah, I don't see it either.
I don't believe it's there anymore. You have to go in and add it to your nav bar.
I guess you do. My mistake. I thought it was here. I apologize. I'll have to look into that. So yes, we get to our portfolio through a link in the nav bar. And this is where you can manage your students' portfolios. So thank you again for reminding me of that. Like I was saying, class pass cards are more for the app if you're going to be using that. I would encourage using the web tool. That works great on Chromebooks. The Chrome app doesn't work great. I actually had some problems with it today, so I don't know if I'm going to be able to show that to you this evening. Once you are kind of finished setting up, you can look at some of the filters that you have. You can view by student, or you can view your portfolio for this course by the evidence that's been submitted already and approved. You can also change just the lookout list view versus that kind of grid view. Now you can start by approving evidence. You can see right here that my one student, Wesley, has one new piece of evidence. I can go right into his portfolio to approve that evidence, or I can go over here and click on approve evidence. If I know that I've gotten multiple submissions, I like to go into the approve evidence area because there are some features in this area that you can use to kind of cut down on the time it would take to approve this evidence. If we trust our students, we go ahead and we can go ahead and hit bulk actions, and we can approve all of our evidence that's come in since the last time we were checked. You can actually share all of it with parents and guardians at this time, or you can put all of it into categories. So you have a few bulk options, which is kind of nice. Otherwise, I can go in and I can approve to the portfolio right away, or I have the option to delete the evidence. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to approve. I'm going to go ahead and just approve this for now. Once I've done that, I'm going to go ahead and go back to my class portfolios and show you around a little bit more. So once I've approved that evidence, I'm actually going to go into the portfolio for the student that I just approved. And we're going to look at a piece of evidence that was already there and kind of what you can do as the teacher. So you have a lot of different options when it comes to portfolio. You'll notice like there's a lot going on here. The students is a little bit cleaner, but they do have a lot. There's a lot going on with it when it comes to evidence. There's a lot you can do with it. A lot of feedback you can give, a lot of notes. You can attach it to different things. So we're going to look at all of that. So first of all, you can download. If it is from the device, so Word document, PowerPoint, it'll actually download. If it's a something from Drive or OneDrive, it'll actually just open in a new tab. So that's a nice piece there. Up in the three-dot menu, you have those four options that I mentioned when we were looking at the slides deck. You can unapprove the evidence. If you get in here and say, oh boy, this is not what I wanted. You can add a spotlight to it or remove a spotlight, which kind of just brings it to the top of the portfolio for the student. You can, another option to download, or you can delete the piece of evidence. Then you might have to ask the student to upload it again, maybe give it a change. Next, we can edit the name of the evidence, and you can also see here when it was collected, the exact time and date. Once I click here, I can actually change the name and save. And that'll change it for myself and the student and the parent if it's shared with the parent. Uploading an audio file, I haven't done this. What you would need to do is use a third-party audio recorder, download to your computer, then upload it here. So it's not as, I guess, as intuitive and nice as maybe in an assignment where a student has that option to add an audio or video file. It's not embedded in Brightspace. Hopefully that's something that comes soon. You can also put Wesley's thoughts here. So if your student didn't put a reflection or thoughts about it and you wanted them to, or you want to add to their thoughts, you can actually do that as the teacher. You can add a reflection on the student's behalf. You just type here and add it. Finally, you can categorize their work on this side. You can add a category for the student. We have class categories that are here. I would stay in class categories. School categories are written by other folks, and we want to stay with class categories. You could remove the category here. You can also see categories that the student put their work into as well. Moving over to the right-hand side, you can see that the heading here is more, it says Wesley Towers and parent/guardian. So this is where Wesley will see feedback from his teacher. So you can provide, I already provided some feedback here, but I could edit that feedback or delete that feedback, or I could type more feedback for my student and click add. Next, I could attach a rubric to the artifact. I've already done this, and I can show you in another one how you would do it. But it's as simple as there's a rubric in your course. In the rubrics tool, you get that rubric and you add it. You can score right within the app. You can even add feedback to each one. I'm gonna go ahead. I'm just going to change that. You can see it's saving as I do it. So there's no save button for the rubrics. So right now there's a 7 out of 9. You'll see that when we go into the evidence in the student side and in the parent side, they can see the rubric feedback and the rubric score. Finally, or not finally, but next we have standards. So I added a random standard to this just so you could see, and I can actually, based on the portfolio artifact, I can tell the student if they've got it or not quite yet, based on the standard. You can add more standards here by clicking on plus standard. Next, we have our teacher only area. So this is adding a private note that only the teacher can see. If you click on visibility, you can add a note that only you can see, hidden, or share with just you and your colleagues, which is visible. So any other teacher would also be able to see this if they came into the environment. And finally, we have this piece of evidence shared with the parent or guardian. If you hover over the question mark, you can see that myself and my wife are the two folks that will see this when they log into Brightspace Parent and Guardian and look at the portfolio section of their environment. So that is everything that you can do with a piece of evidence for a student in your course. I did say, here's the new piece of evidence that was just added. I could do a lot of the same things here. I could add the rubric, I could add the standards. And this is something you'd have to do for each piece of evidence. This is more meant for, things that you want to save and hold on to for your student to show that growth throughout a school year. So with that, I just gave you a lot. Any questions, comments, anything that you thought of as we were going through that? Okay, I'll go ahead and take silence as a no, and we'll keep moving. So like I mentioned, there are 3 different ways really for our students to access the portfolio. There's the web tool, which I'm showing you this evening. There's also a Chrome app for students that has to be added by the student in the Play Store. I'll quickly show you that, but there's information about that here and even more information if you click the link. And there's also inside of that Chrome app, really you have 2 modes. You have an in-class mode, which is really just meant for a shared device. If maybe a teacher logged in and students could share one device without having to log in each time. So really that's what that's meant for. Or you use my device mode where the student would actually log into the device and access through the Brightspace portfolio. There's really the app is nice because it's a little bit simpler. What it does is allows the student to really it guides them through. They take a picture of their work, they talk about their work, they're done. That's really it. There's so it's nice in that it doesn't give students a lot of choices. If you really just want them to show their work, talk about their work, and then move on or take a quick video of what they're doing, the web tool does give them a lot more flexibility, many more options. So it really depends on your class and how you want to run things. So tonight I'm going to mainly focus on the web tool for students. So they access that in 3 ways. And that is through the nav bar, where the teacher adds the My Portfolio link to the nav bar. They can click on My Portfolio if they go up to their profile, or like I just mentioned, the Chrome app, and we do have more info about that in your presentation. So those are the 3 ways that our students access the portfolio tool inside of Brightspace. Once evidence is approved, at least for me, but if you uncheck those, students would select their course, click the Add to Portfolio button. They choose their source. So they have to decide, where is this going to come from? Is it going to come from my computer? Which in our case, most of the time it's not, because we don't store anything on our Chromebooks. So usually we're going to get everything from Drive, Google Drive, or OneDrive. Once that evidence is approved, or if it doesn't need to be approved, they can do a lot of the same things that I just showed you that the teacher can do. They can rename and check for feedback. They can add a category. They can add a reflection. They can spotlight, download, and delete their evidence as well.
So a question on this part
Yes.
here. So when you go to Drive, it's going to have every file. It's not going to just be that one specific student's file. So every time you want to add some evidence to the portfolio, you have to go through your Drive and find their assignment to add it.
If you as the teacher were going to do that, yes. I mean, you could, there's a lot of things you could do. You could start a folder just for portfolio that you would share with your students and have them dump their evidence into that folder. That would be one way to do it. I'm going to talk a little bit later about just using an assignment to assign a portfolio assignment. So then everything would go into that assignments folder. So that's another way that you could kind of organize that work also. But yeah, that's a good question. But students can, that's why the students have that ability. They can upload their own evidence. So you don't have to go searching through your Google Drive for all of their evidence. Did that get into your question?
Yeah, it did. I know, looking at 27 kids online and trying to create their portfolios, I know there's times where you want, oh, this would be great evidence to share with parents, but then you have to do each one individually. It would be great if when I clicked on that little link, I saw only that student's work in the Drive rather than everybody's work, and be able to go through his work and pull the evidence in. But it's just to have to. And it's not like when I'm checking work too, if I have it open, I can't save it right to as evidence at that point. Let's say if I'm checking their work and I'm like, oh, this would be great to put into their portfolio.
Yeah.
It's not like I have a button to click on and be able to just add it as evidence. I'd have to go through this all the way through here and then add it.
Yeah, you do have to go through the tool. You have to pull it into the portfolio. You can't push it into the portfolio. You're right. Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
One other thing I just wanted to mention is coming soon. We have, I started to explore this in our test environment, but it'll be moving to production soon, I hope, is there's unlinked evidence, which allows students to put evidence that they want to have that's not linked to any of their courses. And I think this will be nice for students who need to have a portfolio over multiple semesters or years. It won't go away when the course goes away. Even though they can't access and they're archived, they can have a kind of a class, a course, or a section of their portfolio that's just their stuff. So that's something that's coming, and we have to do some more testing with that. But I just did want to mention that this evening. So let's go ahead and explore inside of the students just a little bit. You kind of already saw this, so I won't take a ton of time with this. Okay, I was just checking my notes. I'm sorry, just to make sure I had covered everything. So the student will access through My Portfolio, or up in the profile and click on My Portfolio. Once that loads, the student would need to then select the course where they wanted to look at their evidence or add evidence. We're going to use the Sandbox this evening. You can see that they can print their ClassPass card if you are using the app with your students. They can view their work by courses or by evidence. They can also filter, just like we can, by class categories, or even stuff that's been shared with parents, stuff with categories, stuff without, or stuff that's been spotlighted by them or the teacher. So they can filter their evidence out, which is nice. They can also use these toggles here to toggle between their courses. Or they can do the drop down to select their courses. So there's a lot of different options for navigation for the student. inside of their portfolio for this, for their overall, their My Portfolio. When they click on Add to Portfolio, I mentioned they'll choose their destination or choose their where their evidence is going to come from. And once that evidence has been approved, at least in this course, they can go in, they can edit the name of it, they can remove the spotlight, they can download it, or they can even delete the evidence if they don't want it in their portfolio anymore. They can upload that audio file. They can add more reflection. They can read the reflection that's already there if it was added by them or the teacher. They can add that category to their work. They can also review their portfolio, their rubric feedback, their teacher feedback, and how they did on the standard as well. You can see that I did update the rubric score while we were in this piece of evidence earlier, and it did update for the student as well. So a lot of the same things that a teacher can do.
All right, another question.
Yeah.
So if I add evidence and it's something that's been graded already, if it was a Brightspace assignment and I graded it and I had a grade, when I put it into evidence, does that grade stay with it? Will that also go into the portfolio, the grade, or do I have to, only thing that goes with it are the things that I do within the portfolio?
Just what you do within the portfolio. The grade would be in the grades tool, and just the piece of evidence would be in the portfolio. But you can add, the rubric or the standards to it as well. But yeah, there are no grades inside the portfolio.
Okay, that's a shame. Okay, thanks.
Sure. I think really, the portfolio is meant to kind of capture that growth throughout the year and to store key pieces of their learning.
Yeah, and but then you could show, like, look at where you were in the fall. You're at a 50% on this, and then you can just show how the grades have improved as well. So, and there's sometimes when you're also grading things, you have that reflection there, and then if you're doing it within the portfolio, then you would have to add that reflection again if you want to keep that.
Correct. Yeah.
Hi, I just have a quick question too.
Sure.
You could give me an example for like the primary grades, how to use it by any chance?
You mean just as far as what you would upload, or?
Yeah, I guess I'm just trying to visualize. I guess I would put like whatever assignment they've done and then provide feedback to the parents.
Yeah, it could be, I guess things that you might normally collect throughout the school year as a primary teacher. Writing samples, or
Gotcha.
it might even be, you
So
can do videos of presentations that they might, you can add video to the portfolio, just pictures of their work. Yeah, so there's a lot you can do.
Okay, thank you. I just was like, oh, what am I going to use this for? But I just needed to talk through it. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. So actually, that was the next thing I was going to do. So thank you. So I'm actually going to switch over to a Chromebook where I have my son logged in. And I think one of the ways that I think I would use this is just taking a picture of their work. So this is this is the work I just did. So I just wanted to kind of go over how a student could do that. So let me go ahead and I'm going to share my Chromebook screen now with all of you. There we go. Perfect. So I've given my students an assignment. It's not even in Brightspace, but I know I want to collect this for a piece of portfolio evidence. So our students can go ahead and down in this bottom right-hand corner, what's nice is they can do a screen capture, which I love. And I was going to talk about this a little bit later, but we'll just do it now. And they can take a picture of what's on their screen. They could even do a video of what's on their screen. So if they do have a presentation on their Chromebook or something they've done on their Chromebook, they just use manipulatives to solve this problem, and we want to capture that. They can take a screenshot or even a video explaining their work, and you can use the Chromebook for that. You can also, let me escape out of this. We can also go down here, the bottom left corner menu. If we don't see the camera tool, on the Chromebook in this tray here. You can also just click the up arrow and access the camera. So this is the way our students would do this. Now they finished their work. I'm just waiting for that camera to come on. There we go. They finished their work, and you ask your students, take a picture of your work and upload it to our portfolio. So there we go. They're going to show you their work. There it is. There we go. I'm not very good at this. And we've got a picture of our work. Now our work the picture is stored on the local drive right here on the device. And our students can access that. So I'm going to head over to the portfolio as the student. And I'm going to add to the portfolio for this course. I know it's stored on this computer or on this device, so I'm going to go ahead and click on Browse. And there's that image that I just downloaded. It's the most recent, today at 5:36. I'm going to click, and I'm going to open. Give it a second. Now, you can see the evidence was uploaded successfully. The students will get that message. Because of the settings I have in this course, they're not going to see it right away. It has to be approved by their teacher first. But that didn't take me very long. I know our students can do that. I know a lot of our students can learn to do that. So if I head over now to the Sandbox, there we go. Let me go ahead and present this screen again. There we go. Let's make sure everything came over correctly. Should have come over. Let me refresh. Oh, that's why. I have way too many windows open. That's my problem. Let's go ahead. Now I'm in the teacher side. So I'm back as my teacher. I know I've asked my students to upload that picture. I can see right here, I have one new piece of evidence to check for this student. Sorry, let's go into approve evidence. Excuse me. There we go. There's my evidence. I can click into it from here if I need to. Looks good. I'm going to go ahead and approve that to the portfolio. So that's another way that you could do it as well. And you can be right in there checking it. And I can do everything that I showed you earlier. I can even share that with the parent. So that's a really quick way that our students can kind of use some technology, but also use those other ways that we're used to working with our students in the classroom. I think that would work great with primary. I know primary kids can learn to do that. I know my kids were doing it in kindergarten and first grade, and they probably have a good time doing that. The other way I showed you too, they could also, that camera app can take video as well. So even if they're doing some type of presentation, they can record their presentation and upload that to the portfolio also. So I'm going to head back to our presentation, but any questions? So I see them coming in right now. 1 second. There we go. Let me get into the chat here. Yes. Yeah, Debbie. Yeah.
So from that same area where you access the camera, you can do a screen capture as well? Did you say?
Yeah. Well, not that same area. Here, let me show you again. I like this feature on the Chromebook. I'm going to present this screen again. So let me switch my presentation. Yeah, this is a nice feature of the Chromebook. So the camera app, where you could take a picture or video with the out-facing camera, is going to be down in the bottom left menu. You can see it's right here in this tray. Or if you click on the up arrow, we've got it right here. And that's kind of the out-facing camera that's up at the top of the screen. But you can also, in the bottom right menu tray, we have this screen capture tool right here. And what's nice about this is it gives you the option to just take a quick screenshot. It allows you to record a video of the screen as well. One thing you want to note about doing video is have your students go into settings and make sure that their record microphone is on or off, depending on what you want them to do. If you want them to explain, like if they've come up with a great slides deck, they're presenting on, a historical figure, but you also want them to give some voiceover to that. I think this is a great way to do it, where they're going through their presentation while, talking about it as well. I think that'd be really cool, but they have to turn the microphone on if they're going to do that.
All right, thank you. That worked. I could see having a whole class do that all at once if you're trying to show them how to, especially for I have third graders.
Yeah.
Doing that way. Okay, thanks.
No problem. Yeah, I think that's awesome. All right. So we've looked at kind of that teacher side. We've looked at the student side. We've talked a little bit about the Chrome app for students. Like I said, we're not going to get into that too much tonight, but you know what? I will. I just want to show you where that is, or what a student would need to do. Like I mentioned earlier, it's not working today. I was very disappointed. I've tried it for a couple of days now, and it's not quite working. I have to do some troubleshooting with it. But if you did choose to use it down in our launcher, you can see I've already added it as the student, and each student would have to add it to their profile. It's not just it's not device. It's added to their profile on their device. If they don't have it, they can hit the up arrow and go ahead into the Play Store. There we go. Play Store is right here. And they would just search Portfolio. It may even come up, but once they do, they'll see Brightspace Portfolio. And they can add it to their profile, and then they can work in the Portfolio app. Like I said, in the presentation, there's a lot more information about that and directions on how to do all of that. But I do suggest the web tool, at least to get started. All right, we're doing great. Let's keep going. Any other questions or anything before we keep going? All right, so we talked a little bit earlier about kind of how I can get my students to do what I want them to do, and have that evidence somewhere. And I think one great way to do that, we mentioned, well, a couple ways. One, have maybe a drive folder where you ask students to dump their stuff. Then you always know right where it is. And then you can pick and choose what you want to add to the portfolio or what you want them to add to the portfolio, but everything's all in one place. Something else you can do is you can create an assignment for your students to do this and call it a portfolio assignment. It could be an ungraded assignment where the purpose of it is to just finish or complete a piece of evidence that will then be put into the portfolio. So if you did join my course, you'll actually, if you want to, have a chance to complete the assignment very quickly and practice uploading to a portfolio like a student would, if you choose to do that. Otherwise, I already showed you how to do all of that this evening, so totally your choice. But I just did want to go through how I did set this up. So what I did is you can do either a Google assignment or a Brightspace assignment. The assignment product would be used as a portfolio artifact. You could upload it directly from your Drive or Office 365. You just got to make sure your students have linked their accounts. Having the Access Google Workspace widget or the Office 365 widget on your course landing page would allow them to do that. That's something you can add to your course very easily by adding a widget, excuse me. So we all know adding a Google assignment, add existing, go to more. We choose that Google assignment. We have other ways now that came out in our Tuesday tips. Or you could do a Brightspace assignment, create new assignment, slides deck. And what I've done, let's say we wanted to have our students working we wanted to use a Brightspace assignment. You could use a Brightspace assignment with Google stuff. And if every student needed to get a copy, one thing that you could do is replace the word edit in the link of your Google Slides template or your doc template with, replace the word edit with the word copy. I'm sorry, with template preview, excuse me. I like this one because it actually gives a nice preview of it. You could also use copy here as well. So if you get rid of edit, put template preview in, your students will see a nice template. They click on the blue button to use the template, and they can complete whatever you ask them to complete. So let's look at that. I'm gonna go back into my Sandbox environment here. We're actually gonna go into content. So I've already set up a unit and a lesson, and I have both types of assignment here that I kind of just mentioned. Portfolio assignment as a Google assignment, pretty straightforward to set up. You add your template to it as the files. Every student gets a copy. The other way, if you would prefer to use Brightspace assignments, you can still use the Google stuff inside of it. And I'll show you how I set that up. I'm gonna go ahead and edit this assignment since it's already created. So like I mentioned, it is ungraded. You can add a due date to it if you prefer. That way it does show up in your work to do widget. It shows up in the calendar. So that's totally up to you. I created a template. Here we go. I created a template that I would use for this assignment. Once the template's done, I would go up and grab the link, and you can see here the word edit. I would copy this, and once I had this in my environment, I'd replace the word edit with template/preview. And those directions are in the presentation. That is the link that I actually put right here. And I know you can't maybe not see it great, but if we go through here, long URL. There we go, template/preview. So my students are not getting the edit link, they're getting the template/preview link. So you can go ahead and throw that, use the quick link button and put the link right there in your description, or you can add it as an attachment using the attach web link button down here. And I did it both ways just so you could see how that would work. Once my students open it, I'll go ahead and go to the student view here. We're going to head into content. And click on the Brightspace assignment. Again, this is in a student view. So you can see they have the link here, or they have the attachment. They can do it either way. I wouldn't put both for my students, but I just wanted you all to see that you can do both. Once they click on the portfolio assignment template that we created by changing edit to template/preview, you see they get this nice preview, and then they can use the template by clicking on the blue button up in the right-hand corner. And essentially, they get their own copy of the template. You would encourage them to change the name of it and complete it. This isn't something that have to be turned in, but maybe those directions say, once you're finished, upload this as a portfolio artifact if you are actively using the portfolio tool in your classroom. So that is a quick rundown of how you could use a Brightspace assignment or a Google assignment to have your students complete something that was for the lone purposes of getting it into that portfolio. Any questions about that? I know I moved kind of quickly. Right. I think I might have missed something earlier. I apologize. I didn't see the chat. Okay, sorry. All right, well, we'll keep going then. All right. We looked at assignment. So now we're going to look at the parent side of things. This is my favorite kind of new feature. We all know that Brightspace Parent and Guardian is kind of starting to roll out to some of our parents. And one of the things that parents have access to is anything that's shared with them through the portfolio, but they all have on their dashboard, they do have a portfolio area. You can see here I have the work to do for the parents. There are recent grades, and then the highlighted one here is the portfolio. Once in, obviously teachers have to share it with them first, but parents can see comments, categories, the feedback from the teacher, any rubrics or standards that are attached to the portfolio piece. This is kind of a quick snapshot of what it looks like. Excuse me. Oops. There we go. Snapshot of what it looked like for the parents, but I'm going to show you for real. So let's go ahead and do that. So once I am in as a parent, in my dashboard, I can see my 2 students that I have a relationship with as far as Brightspace is concerned, my 2 children. If I go into my son's area, it is not loading correctly. I'm not seeing portfolio for some reason. There we go. So I see his work to do, I see his recent grades, and then I see the portfolio. And you can notice that's the last thing that the snapshot here is the last thing that he uploaded this evening. And then I shared it immediately with the parent. You can click on that, or I can go in and view all portfolio items as the parent. And we also see I should mention, we also see latest posts from the teacher here. Anything that's put in the activity feed, parents can see down here at the bottom of their environment. If I click on view portfolio items, I can, very similar to the child's portfolio, I would have to choose the course. And I can see, all right, this has been spotlighted by the teacher or the student. And then I have other evidence down here. So anything that's spotlighted moves to the top. Other evidence falls down here to the bottom. But I can go in and I can view that evidence that the teacher decided to share with me. Not much in this one, but if we go to the other one, we can see a little bit more because more has been done to it by the teacher or the student. We can see the feedback. We see the updated rubric score. We see the standards and that they got it. I can see the reflection that was put in either by the student or the teacher, and the categories that are there as well. My options here are to download as the parent. One thing I forgot to mention, I'm going to head back to the student. This just reminded me. The student portfolio. There are kind of some previews for the evidence that I did want to mention. So when we are in the sandbox here, for a piece of evidence, you can see that the student or the teacher can see that something's been shared if it's highlighted in a darker color, that there's feedback, that it's categorized, or that it's spotlighted. And so based on what's been done to the piece of evidence, you have these indicators for each piece of evidence in the student's portfolio. So I did want to mention that. I did forget to mention that earlier this evening. And you'll see those when you're in as the teacher as well. You can see same thing here. If we're looking at the students in our classroom, we can see that we have 7 pieces of evidence collected. We have 2 pieces shared with parents, and we have 1 unapproved piece of evidence to check. So I think those are nice kind of indicators before you even get in. So a few things I did mention earlier. I'm sorry, are there any questions before we keep moving? Okay. Just feel free to unmute. So we did mention earlier that students are hopefully soon going to get that ability to have unlinked evidence that they can kind of keep with them throughout their careers in Anne Arundel County using Brightspace. But we do have archived portfolios. So after a course closes, the evidence that's attached to that course for the student goes into an archived portfolio. In the presentation is a set of directions on and notes about how you as a teacher can view archived evidence for students in your course. So if they had evidence put into their course in second grade and they move into third grade, you could still, as a third grade teacher, access that evidence. I did want to, so I'll show you the steps for doing that now. So if we move in to a student that is now in my classroom, we'll say we've moved, a year has passed. We can go ahead and click over here, and right now we're viewing active evidence, but we could look at deleted evidence, and we could also look at archived portfolios. Once we click on archived portfolios, we can move, this is the 2021 school year. This was last semester really, or yeah, the spring semester of last year. He has evidence in 2 courses. So I don't think there's anything in these. Oh, actually there was one. So I did a test presentation, but as you can see, I can move into a piece of evidence that was uploaded to Wesley's portfolio last year. There are not as many options. I actually can't do a lot of editing because it's been done. So there's not much you can do, but you can view it. You can download it. Once it's downloaded, you could add, if you wanted to move it into current portfolio, that's an option as well. Students would do this in the same way, or a very similar fashion. Once they're in their portfolio, they can click on active evidence and go to archived portfolios, and they see the same thing that I just saw. And they do it. So they can scroll through, and there's nothing they can do to it, but they can view it and download it. So that is how you can look at archived evidence from past years inside of the Brightspace portfolio tool. Excuse me. So we are getting that unlinked option that students have, but another option, and I'm just going to outline and just mention this, another option if, let's say, you are a person who does need to have student evidence over multiple semesters or years. One option that we've just kind of come up with in our office is using a non-rostered course that you would enroll your teachers, you would enroll students, and the course would just move with them throughout over the years. You may have to unenroll and unenroll and enroll teachers as they move through, but that is an option that you can do, and I just wanted to include that is an option and include directions on how you could do that here in our presentation. Are there any questions about archived, unlinked evidence using a course like this that I just mentioned? So we actually already got to this earlier, but we did talk a little bit about using videos and screenshots. But there's some more information here if you wanted to revisit the presentation. But I gave you some screenshots about how you can do what we were looking at earlier on the Chromebook. Another option is using WeVideo and adding that link to a slides deck. Also, we have I like using Padlet for collecting video evidence. Just some other options. These are outside of portfolio even, but there's some more options here for video and screenshots, which I think is great. I could never stuff a video or a screenshot into my old filing cabinet portfolios that I kept for my students. So this is a huge feature of the new portfolio within Brightspace. Also in the presentation, if you would like to, I guess I should stop. Did anybody want to, I skipped right over something. Did anybody want to go in and complete one of the assignments and upload evidence as a student? You can unmute, turn your camera on, show of hands. Okay, cool, let's do it. Thank you. I'm a little out of whack tonight, I guess. So if you go to, let's go ahead and if you've already discovered the course, it's called Brightspace Portfolio. You can discover and self-enroll in Brightspace Portfolio. And if you go into content, you will see the fall 2021 PD, and you can either complete the Brightspace assignment or the portfolio assignment, your choice. And then once that's completed, go ahead and upload it to the portfolio for that course. So we'll take just a quick, maybe 5-minute break. You don't have to complete the assignment for real. There's not really much to do anyway, but go ahead and add something to it, and then go ahead and use the My Portfolio tool to upload it, and we'll kind of see what that looks like on my end, and you get to see what it looks like on the teacher end. So let's come back at let's just say 6:05, and we'll take a look at that if anybody wants to go ahead and do that now.
All right, Darren, I'm stuck on the part where I'm trying to find, it's like I don't see it as a recent file when I go to my Google Drive, unless it's just loading really slowly.
It might be, try searching for the name of it, template. I think it's called template.
Okay.
Yeah, recent has been acting funny lately, I've noticed.
Yeah, because that would be easier if it was just right there when I opened it up. Since I was just working on it, I would think it would be right there for my files.
It should be. It's definitely in your assignments folder, but it should be there in the recents. I have noticed that I've had a few people mention, hey, my recents just isn't working quite right. As you can see I'm not getting to my portfolio right now either. Oh, there it goes. Finally. Oof.
All right, let me name this something. It's not coming up, but let's go ahead and name it.
Yeah, definitely. I would always encourage students to give it a new name. If you're doing a Google assignment, it's going to put their first name on it. A Brightspace assignment won't do that the way I showed you, but.
Okay.
So I don't know if you're also watching the screen, but you can see I do have some unapproved evidence here. No one from our course this evening, our workshop this evening, but from past classes. But I'm going to keep refreshing. So yeah, Kathy, Salerno, let me know. Let me know when you have it uploaded, and I'll take a look again, and we can kind of see all together what that looks like.
I found it, and I'm uploading it, but it's spinning right now.
Yeah, mine's moving slow too. So yeah, no worries. Thank you for doing this. I think it's a great thing to look at.
It's just still spinning on me.
Okay.
I tried to go back and do it again, and it doesn't seem to want to load.
I wonder why. Same. Okay. I'm not sure. All right. Well, we'll go with plan B. Because I do have some evidence in here. So let's pretend that you all were able to successfully complete the assignment and upload your evidence on the student side, which we all got to see earlier. And then, so then you as the teacher could go into your approve evidence area in your portfolio for that course. And then you'll see you have multiple submissions of brand new evidence that you need to look over. And you have those choices. You can go in each one and look at it, or you can, we're going to trust that our students did a great job and it is evidence that I want to have, or we've already gone over it. I've already graded it. I've already evaluated this. And now I'm just saying, all right, now I need you guys to go ahead and put this into the portfolio because we want to use this as one of our artifacts. I love the bulk action that you can do here. Is I can go ahead and I can approve all of them right away. I don't have to go through each one and click approve, approve, approve. So I'm going to approve all that's come in. And I'm all caught up as the teacher, which is great. Then I'm going to go back to my class portfolio. And then I can review that here, or I can actually look at evidence. One nice thing. Oh, there's Salernos. Nice. So we can look at that. That one did pop up. Great. Why did that not come through? Nope, now it's gone. So there's something strange going on with this. Yeah, it is acting very odd. So I apologize for that. It does work. I was using it all day with my, being my son and myself going back and forth. The one that when you do have a large class, though, there's a lot of evidence. That's why the filter tool is nice. You can look at it by new evidence. If you can see, there's nothing coming through right now. But the category piece is kind of nice. So having categories there for your students to choose from, that could be part of your directions. You could say just, put it in the October category or the math category, or even if names of units for the category. So depending on, just how you run your course, your class, you can use the categories tool to go ahead and filter out so that you can get into the evidence and then take a look at it, offer that feedback, add the rubric or the standards and such. You can see here, I don't have the option to add a standard because I don't have standards attached to this course. So thank you very much for trying. I apologize it didn't work. I also apologize that I skipped over it earlier. I don't know what I was thinking. But any questions or comments? Keep saying the file is private. That's really strange. I know it's open to anybody. Oh, we'll move on from that. It does work. Yeah, Debbie, go ahead.
Just a quick question. I was wondering, so if the students are uploading their evidence, do they have to stay in Brightspace completely while it's loading? Because it seems like it's taken a while, and I think we've been told that it could take some time. But do they still have to, once they get the process started, can they go on to something else? Can they work on something else while it's loading? And I guess what we'll figure that out is if you see the evidence tomorrow from Kathy and Megan, if once we shut down, if it's not there before we leave tonight, and then if it does it later on. I'm just curious.
Yeah, that's a good question. I really don't know. I've never had that much trouble. Every time I've kind of simulated this process, or even in these classes I've done, it's pretty much come through almost right away. So I'm not sure what's going on with it this evening, and I know none of the none of the stuff was private or anything like that. So I like to be different. Yeah. So I apologize. I know it does work. I would say have the students stay in Brightspace because I don't know what would happen if they definitely don't want to X
close
out of it. Yeah, they don't want to close out.
But they could open up another window.
Oh
and work
yeah,
on something
a new
else,
tab. Yeah,
and then come back later and check it out.
Teaching them that duplicate tab trick. If they want to open a new Brightspace window, just right click, duplicate the tab, and they can just work in Brightspace in a new tab, which is kind of nice too. So that's pretty much it. I really appreciate all the questions. I appreciate you kind of going through this with me. I told you we'd be done a little bit early, but I do definitely plan to stay here until everyone is finished. So if you wanted to explore some more, just talk about portfolio. If you had questions coming in that I didn't answer, I'm here to answer them now. But I do have the evaluation and attendance and the presentation link for you one more time that I'll put in the chat. Also on the screen, I have information just about resources and support. We have our office hours daily. We have our websites. We have our Brightspace support email, and you can also email me if you have any questions also. So I really appreciate everybody being here tonight, and let's everybody have a good night.